Welcome to the podcast, Karma is Calling, a space where we are awakening to our bodies, opening our hearts, and remembering who we truly are. Today, we have a solo episode with your host, me, Lauren, from Karma is Calling, and I really wanted to be super vulnerable in this episode. And in full transparency, I have ideas of what I want to talk about, but I've been guided just to turn on the mic and start talking. And I think it's because I'm in a really pivotal time of my life and I'm conscious of this. Through the month of July, I've been constricted and it has felt like, when nature dies, we can bloom bigger. July was that for me. And we're not done yet, but we are heading towards the end. And through that restriction process, I've had to dive really deep to see what is blocking me. Why am I in fear? Why am I in scarcity? And then learn from there, if that makes sense. Okay. So in today's episode, I really just want to talk about what my experience of scarcity mindset, what my experience of disalignment felt like, what my experience of stepping into my purpose feels like. So that when people are on the edge, which so many of us, and specifically if you're listening to this episode, you will be on the edge if you're not already there as the world shifts and changes. We are all going to be called to expand in some form that's going to make us feel very uncomfortable. Some people are meant to lead, some people are meant to teach, some people are meant to just experience. Really, it's whatever your soul decided. But all of us did decide to grow in some way. So if this is your first time here, welcome. Quick little update. I am an astrologer. I teach astrology and I almost feel like I'm growing out of identities in this way, right? Like I was a licensed social worker, just meant that I ran my own private practice as a traditional therapist. I became an astrologer. I'm an astrologer teacher now. And really, I'm just feeling like I am a guide here on earth to teach in some form. And it's ever evolving. But currently, how I identify is like an astrotherapist because my purpose of astrology is using the chart as a mirror to our inner world to heal our inner wounds. And when we can do that, we see ourselves clearly, we understand our purpose clearer, and we can walk that path that the chart lays out. And so for me right now, getting astrology out to as many people as possible, as far as wide, is a way I can be in service to the collective with this collective awakening. Because anytime someone gets their chart read, I hear the same thing. How did you know this? That's so me. Wow, I feel so validated. Wow, I feel liberated. Wow, I feel like I know where to go next, right? There's just this amazing validation, redirection sometimes of where to go. It's just really interesting when I read charts because it's like the soul always knows what I'm saying. So it's not new information that people get to hear, but it either realigns the soul and the ego or it allows people to see something from a different angle and to trust. So anyways, that's what I do. And I became full-time astrologer in April. So I left all traditional therapy behind, left my clients, and I was like, let's do this. Simultaneously, my husband was laid off from corporate America. He said, I'll come work for you so you can expand. Because a big thing that happens with service providers in the spiritual space is you only have so much time during the day. And if you're in sessions working one-on-one, it's hard to market. It's hard to create content. It's hard to do the creative aspects because you do need to do all the admin and all that kind of stuff. And I'm terrible at that. And so to have my husband here kind of helping me along the way with marketing, with creating decks, all that stuff, it's been so, so helpful. So he's on board, I'm on board, and we were like, let's fucking do this. So I launched my mentorship program. I'm teaching astrology. I'm obsessed. This is probably my fourth time teaching a cohort, and it's rocking and rolling. And in June, I had a record month for my business. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm so aligned. Even though, of course, I was stretched in May having to sell for the first time. There's this wound in the spiritual community of having to market. But it's like at the end of the day, you do need to market yourself. And what I've realized is it's not about marketing. It's around believing in yourself. It's around standing 10 toes down in what you have, the service you have to provide. And I think I was almost moving through some fear of being seen, in the sense of fear of being called out, like you don't really know what you're talking about. You're a mentor. Like what? Even though I've had my own mentor hire me to teach because she did see I was there and I was ready. So I was like filtering through all that self-confidence stuff in May to become this mentor. And then I did. Then July hits. Okay. So this is where we talk about more around alignment, nervous system, and things like that. So July hits and I'm like, okay, well, great. Where is the next set of income going to come from? And to me, I was like, oh, a coaching container. This is perfect. I can get a few coaching clients. This is what I've done for the last 10 years, working a one-on-one. It's going to be a 6-month container. I basically curated a container for exactly what I needed, right? To learn your astrology chart, learn the basics of your human design chart, which just basically helps you make decisions, learn to regulate your nervous system, heal, become conscious of old wounds, old narratives, old belief systems that are outdated. Let that shit go, align with your purpose, walk that path. As you're walking that path, you're going to get triggered. I'm here to support you, filter through those triggers, and then you basically go on with your life. And so this was the container that I created. And I was really passionate about it. But then, the business coaches were all like, who are you talking to? You have to create this avatar. And I was like, okay. So I created basically me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to market to this person. And the moment I launched, it just felt off. It felt so off. And I was like, is it because I'm marketing to a specific person? I've never done that. I've always just like, whoever comes to me, comes to me. And I fully believe they're led to me for a reason and they're my clients for a reason. I've thought this all through therapy clients. I learned so much through that, especially because you don't get to choose your therapy clients when you're in community mental health and things like that. So I was like, maybe that's what's off. And so for the first 2 weeks of this launch, quote unquote, I just kind of pushed through. But this is where alignment is so important. My body was feeling uncomfortable. It wasn't a fear. It wasn't like, oh, I want to run and hide. It was, this doesn't have passion behind it. This doesn't have Lauren's spark behind it. And I knew that. But I would post the videos anyways because I was like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what business is. But no one was biting, right? And then in turn, that challenged my ego of like, wow, well, no one wants to work with me. And then that looped the scarcity mindset of I'm not going to have money. What's going to happen to my daughter? What's going to happen to my husband? Is he going to have to go get a job again? And I'm just like spiraling over these few weeks. And then I would pull myself out and I would be like, okay, just trust the process. Just trust the process. And I could hear my soul being like, you know what you need to be doing. You need to redirect. You're not in alignment. There wasn't an umph behind it. There wasn't a passion behind it. Disalignment felt draining. It felt fearful. It felt like I need to create this. And I was like white knuckling this launch. And I was like, how can I get to more people? So it basically one day I was trying to create a TikTok video for the coaching program. And I got so annoyed and I just get up and I go to my husband and go, I'm leaving. I'm going to the river. The river is calling me. I don't know why, but I'm going. And I took my daughter and we just walked for a few miles. And what came to me on that walk was you don't actually want to do one-on-one. You're doing it because you're in scarcity mindset. You are in a lack around money. You don't feel like money's going to come to you. So you are trying to force money to come to you. But when you do that, you're emitting a desperate energy that people read and then they don't book. And it kind of just slapped me in the face. It's like I got rid of one-on-one clients to create more space to be able to do the work I want to do. So I was like, okay, that's number one. Let me realign with what I truly want. And that's teaching. I've always wanted to teach. I channeled this beautiful course back in April when I first started this journey. And this course is so, so special to me. It's called Shadow and Soul. It's on my website. And why this specific course is so special is I knew I wanted to blend therapy and astrology together. That's what I do best, right? There's a reason I went into therapy and there's a reason I found astrology. And so I was like, I'm going to go through every part of the birth chart that holds wounds, whether it's related to this life or past life. And the thing about astrology is there's going to be a lowest vibration and a highest vibration for everything in our chart. So I picked 9 placements that hold the most karmic ties. And I explain what those placements are. And then I provide a cheat sheet for sign and house so you can figure out what it means for you. And so I channeled this course. I felt like it just came right through me within 2 weeks. And then I sit down to look at my own birth chart. And what the craziest thing about it was, almost every single planet that I added into this course had a direct transit happening during the channeling. So what it showed me was, one, my intuitive gifts, two, the validation of astrology, and three, how freaking powerful when you learn the blocks of your chart, what your chart mirrors to you, you can move through those blocks. What was being mirrored to me was my voice. It was not sharing my creative thoughts. It was hiding. It was being in isolation, being fearful to show people what I really think, what I really believe. It was hiding behind astrology because I didn't want to actually tell people my story or talk about myself because I felt like that's too ego. It was feeling like I need to learn, and never step into that teacher role because I didn't want to be a fraud. And that is why I studied astrology for 5 years until my mentor called me up and said, "You're ready," right? And so that course really ignited this fire in me. And then I just put it away. And I went to my mentorship, which was great. I needed that. But then instead of going back to this course and back to teaching, I dove into one-on-one. And I realized, no, you need to go back to teaching. And that is what I've come to as of yesterday. Fully embodied. No, like I'm not going to promote one-on-one. I'm going to promote my course. Well, through this, I have had an amazing experience with Marston, who was on the episode last week. And we have been working together. And when I met her, instantly felt like I was less than. Instantly was like, wow, you're not that smart. She's so smart. She had so much value. You're here to learn from her. And a really deep insecurity was triggered with that. Once again, I saw myself instantly, without even a thought, put myself less than someone, and very insecure around this. And I realized that through my spiritual journey, I always kind of found someone to partner with. And I don't know, I don't want to say hide behind, but create a safety net for me, because whenever it's just me, I feel very uncomfortable. Again, I feel like a fraud. And even though I know I'm not, I do this shit every day, all day, right? Like my husband's like, girl, you need hobbies other than your spirituality. And I'm like, I know. But anyways, that was a really good turning point for me, because when I would listen to our episodes back, I was like, oh, I do sound normal. I thought I sounded flustered. I thought I sounded inadequate. And it's like, no, you sound normal. So I'm sharing this with my friend. And my friend was like, Lauren, it's not really what you say. It's how you say it, which is why people listen. She goes, it's the energy you send to people. It's your light. It's your light, quote unquote, right? I've heard that my whole life. It's your light. It's your light. When you walk in a room, you have this light. But I never was able to see myself in that way because of my insecurities. So like, I encourage you to think about, what do people tell you all the time about your personality that you continue to just brush off? Because that's real. They see you more than you see yourself, because the perception of yourself is rooted in so much. I'm just seeing almost this like toxic junk, because how you see yourself is muddy. How you see yourself is through the ego, through the stories, through the narratives you tell yourself. And for me personally, I do such a good job of putting a smile on my face, making other people feel comfortable, that I don't really dive into me. And this entrepreneurship journey has made me. It's been the best best mirror I've ever had, because I'm in a career as a therapist and as an astrologer, is you focus on the other person. You dive deep into the other person. And yes, I've been in therapy, but the thing is, I'm so airy that I can talk my way through anything. Intellectually, I know all my blocks. Intellectually, I knew all my fears, but there was a lack of embodiment that was happening. And I think when I was getting triggered so severely through this entrepreneurship journey, through feeling less than, then feeling like a fraud, feeling dumb, feeling like I'm not going to make money, all those big core blocks were being triggered. I had to learn how to regulate my nervous system. And by regulating my nervous system to keep going forward, right? To calm the anxiety to post the video, calm the anxiety to promote myself, calm the anxiety to realize you're good enough, was through EFT tapping, which, by the way, in my course, I talk about EFT tapping because that's literally how I did this. It's going outside every day and taking a walk and really grounding myself to earth, putting my feet on the ground every day. Like, it is wild how I've had to actively engage in all the coping skills to regulate my nervous system. And as I did that, all of the things, all the information I knew up here on like an intellectual level around spirituality, around psychic abilities, all slowly dropped into my body. And it has become this embodiment. And I think about the 4 agreements, and I realized not taking anything personally and being impeccable with your words are 2 agreements that I feel like I have finally truly embodied over even just like the last week. And this was really big on my journey this month of the embodiment aspect, because in the beginning of your spiritual awakening process, it's the crystals, it's the astrology, it's the tarot. And these are tools, right? These are tools to open yourself up, that you yourself has this amazing knowledge and wisdom in your deep unconscious. So in the beginning, you get the tools, you get the fun, you get hooked. Then you get triggered. This is called the dark night of the soul, right? Where you go through a lot and you kind of shed a lot. You look at old wounds, you look at yourself, new versions of yourself. Healing is cyclical. So you heal and you have multiple dark nights and you get deeper and deeper and deeper. And then I really do believe there is a next level of spiritual awakening, and that's the embodiment phase, where you don't need the crystals. You don't need the tarot cards anymore. What spirituality is just walking that path of alignment, walking the path and listening to your body. Embodiment, listening to, oh, my body says go to the store right now. Oh, my body says to take a break right now. The mind's telling you work, 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 but the body's saying take a break, right? And when you can start to trust the body, that is spirituality. And I don't know if I've talked about it on here before, but I've talked about it a lot recently. When we talk about masculine and feminine energy, this is the yin and the yang energy. Feminine energy is embodiment. It's the physical. And masculine is spirit. It's the non-physical. It's linear. So the way that society has been created is through the patriarchy. And what's happening right now is we're remembering feminine energy. It's like on the rise again. And so we're embodying ourselves more. We're realizing our power within our body. And so with this embodiment, I started noticing, and a lot of it was through Marston's teaching around timelines. She said it so clearly: if there's a person you want to become, your soul's biggest dreams. For me, it's to run an astrology school, to have passive income, to be engaging in my passions, but also be there with my family and travel the world and just experience and teach and watch the world shift. That's like my ideal self. Okay. Where I'm at right now, there's a probability that it could absolutely happen. But the probability of that happening, let's just say, I'm just creating 50-50 shot. But what would increase that probability would be taking aligned action with every intentional decision I make to that version. So if I wanted to have passive income, sell astrology courses, then I need to embody exactly what I'm selling. Part of what I sell is how to live life based off your chart, based off your authentic energy. So part of my chart is speaking very, very clearly, being honest with my words, and having integrity with my words. So oftentimes my shadow self would people please. I would appease people, right? Just so that they felt comfortable, and I self-abandoned time and time and time again. And it literally was a week ago, because it was last Tuesday when we recorded this episode, that it just clicked my head. It was like, if you ever want to become that version of you, If you ever want to increase that probability, then you need to start taking aligned action. And part of that is being truthful with your words. So all last week, I was intentional with everything I did. And even when I was going against what my body wanted, and I knew it, I still did it. I wasn't perfect at it, but I could be like, ooh, I shouldn't really be doing this right now. But I'm going to do it anyways because my fear, right? It just kind of overrode it. And another way you could say this is human design. I'm a manifesting generator. And if you're a generator, same thing. We are literally we literally make decisions based off our sacral chakra. So if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. I have an entire episode on human design with Regina. So go check it out so you can understand what I'm speaking about. But literally last week I decided, okay, you know what, Lauren, you want to teach about this, then you need to walk the walk. If you're a manifesting generator and you literally make decisions from your sacral chakra, make every single decision from your sacral chakra going forward and see what happens. Experiment. That's what human design is about. I know my birth chart. I know the transit's happening. I know it's an amazing time for my career. Just fucking do it. And so last week, I started to make this conscious decision. Well, fast forward to the weekend. My friend came in town. And this is a friend I've known since I was 3 years old, okay? We are in and out of each other's lives, which is really crazy. Like every big thing that's happened, we somehow have crossed paths at that time. Whether I was visiting LA when she lived in LA, or we were in the same class in high school when something major happened to her. It's just really fascinating. And so she came home in 2022 to Washington and we reconnected. And since then, we've just been along this journey together. And she's my one friend in real life that is very spiritual. And we had some really great, difficult conversations together. And she had the courage to bring up a conversation that I had with her, and I was able to say my piece. And I think before I would have just apologized and been like, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. But instead, I was like, no. Why I made her feel that way was because I was being authentically me in that moment. Maybe I could have delivered it slightly differently, but I was being authentically me and I need to explain why. So I was slower with my words. I explained what I was going through and why and where, how I got there and all that stuff. And we had this beautiful conversation. And that was the first thing that I realized, wow, I can have difficult conversations. Okay. So then there was like all these different conversations that happened between the both of us throughout the days. Specifically, she was telling me about my light and she helped me see myself in a way I've never seen myself. Okay. Well, then the next day, Marston held a live channeling event on TikTok. And she does this on Sundays now. It was her first one. It was so beautiful. And I asked her to channel my guides. And she channeled them today as well. And so she started channeling my guides. And she was like, your guides are telling you that they are very proud of you. I could get emotional. They're very proud of you for learning how to trust them, for learning how to learn their language, because I've quickly realized they don't talk to me through English. They don't talk to me through symbols. They talk to me through astrology. Anytime I've ever needed confirmation, I look at someone's chart, I see it. Anytime I've ever needed help with myself, I look at my chart, I see it. Things that I look at every single day, I don't see, but then I have this download, then I look and it's there, right? I have this tarot deck. I now pull a card. Whatever card I pull, that part of my chart's activated for that day, right? So I'm starting to learn this language with them and I'm starting to trust it way more, right? I've been telling you, I've been embodying. And so to hear that back, I was like, wow, thank you. And then she goes, they're telling me there's the level of embodiment and I'm dead because that's exactly what I was thinking about the night before. She goes, you're not supposed to know where you're going though. You need to trust the process. If you knew, you would self-sabotage. She goes, your mind would get in the way and you would think too much. And I was like, oh my God, 100%, right? Like that makes sense because my linear mind, I get so up here in my insecurities, in the narratives, in the beliefs that I've been telling myself that if I knew what the puzzle was going to be, as Marston would say, then I wouldn't do it. And my job, what she told me today, is to find the pieces along the way and to just keep trusting. And so we had a channeling session today to extend that mini one. And I told her, I explained what was happening in July, that I was feeling super triggered and really restricted. And then I don't know where my money's coming from next, but I don't feel like it's coaching. And then I also told her that I'm really fearful because I know that there's a spirit in my house, which I'll touch on that in a sec. and I'm fearful to connect with it. And so she was like, okay, great, let's get into it. And if you want to hear this, it's actually on our channel, Bridging the Realms. And she channeled through, and first around my work, she said, your guides are saying that you're getting constricted right now so you can bloom bigger, like I said earlier, and that they're sorry that it has to be this intense, but it's because I need growth quickly. And that the more I try to conform to traditional business, the more it's not going to work. And the more I trust what I really want to do, the more it will just unravel. And so I said, okay, because I launched this coaching thing. I launched this specific client I'm supposed to have, and it just dead. And I was like, I got to throw out the traditional business thing, right? But then on top of that, I was like, okay, so I asked, do I just keep going on track with my courses and teaching and putting myself out there in that way? And all they said to her was full stop, which I say a lot when I'm like really passionate. I'm like, full stop. That's it right there. And I was like, okay. I'm like smiling so big right now because I feel that. I feel this energy. And so that was so exciting. And so I'm like, okay, work wise, just fucking chill, deconstruct what work, quote unquote, is, deconstruct what I'm supposed to be doing, deconstruct how to make money, how to get to 5 figures, right? Like all the shit you see on TikTok, and come back to my intuition and it will guide me. And she goes, this loops in to the spirit in your house right now. So interestingly, we moved into this house in March. And about a few weeks after we moved in, my baby's nursery felt very heavy. And I was just like, okay, this is like kind of creepy vibes. But my husband does not like when I bring up spirits being in the house. He gets really freaked out. So I like just kept it to myself. But then one night I was like, baby, you need to go into that. Just walk by Kinsley's room, stand in it, then walk into my office and tell me, do you feel a difference? He's like, why? I'm like, just do it. And he did it. And he was like, yeah, it feels really heavy in her room. I was like, I know. So I sage it the next day. Kind of worked, not really. Okay. So then we just kind of like, she doesn't sleep in the room. She sleeps in our bed. We co-sleep. So we just kind of avoided her room for a while, the nursery. And eventually Charles comes into me after it was like 3 a.m. He's rocking her to sleep. And the next morning he was like, you need to sage that room because there is something in there. And keep in mind, we go in there in the day to like change her. And she's oftentimes looking over my shoulder, smiling, like looking at something. And when I'm changing her, I'm always looking over my shoulder because it seems like my dog or Charles is walking behind me, but there's never anyone there. But it catches my eye. So it's like someone's in the fucking room. And, you know, I've heard this from my mom. I've heard this from friends. Like oftentimes there are people protecting your baby, and especially because they're so like new. But it just wasn't moving. Like it was just staying. And I was fearful. I was getting really scared and I wouldn't go in there. And so then the other day I posted on TikTok about it. And I just was super clear. And I was like, if you're not here for the highest good, you need to go. Well, it didn't fucking leave. So I'm like, okay, clearly you're here for a reason. But I asked it to just chill for a little bit. And it did. It was like less intense. Like when I'm in the rocking chair, it kind of feels like it like overcomes me like a blanket and not like a warm and fuzzy blanket. Well, I think it would be like that. My mind gets in the way, right? The fear gets in the way. So it's kind of chilled. But then when my friend was here and we had this like amazing breakthrough conversation, the door opened and shut on its own. And you just felt it's here. And I was freaked out. And she looks at me and goes, why are you so scared? They're laughing at you. It's fine. And I was like, okay. And it kind of like disarmed me. And I was like, you're right. And I could see like, honestly, like people holding hands around us. Like that's what it looked like. That's what I imagined. And that night I went to bed fired up because of this massive breakthrough, because I could feel the energy. And then someone just grabbed my foot, not in a creepy way. They just, you know, and I made sure it wasn't my husband, and he was on the other side of the bed asleep. And I was like, okay. So I wasn't freaked out at this point, but I know that there's an energy here, clear as day. And so Marston said, this energy is here. It's an ancestral guide that is here for you and Charles. Kinsley knows this. Kinsley talks to the guide. She's not freaked out. But this entity is here to wake Charles up and to escalate your psychic abilities. She's like, you are a medium, you are a psychic, you have these gifts, but they're slowly, because of that undergrade fear you have, they're slowly awakening you. So I'm going to start working with it. So I'll keep you guys updated on what the fuck comes out from that. But then she also told me that like my guides have been earth-based souls. And I really think that makes sense for me because I've just really understood human behavior. I always just thought it was because I started psychology in high school because I knew I'd be a therapist at 12 years old. So that was just my trajectory, is just to understand the human. And that has really helped me not judge people, because people can tell me off the wall stuff in session and they think I'm going to judge them. And I just look at them and I'm like, okay, because I just get it, right? I get what Earth does, and it would make sense why I have Earth-based souls. And she informed me that there's a changing of the guards, that those souls aren't just leaving me, but I am having extraterrestrials come and help guide with this new part of my life. But with this new part of my life, I have to start speaking my truth. I have to start learning how to embody what I believe, not shying away from it, not watering it down, not being more palatable for people, not wanting to make sure that they feel comfortable. That's not what it's about anymore. It's about me doing my mission, standing in my most authentic version of me. And if people don't like it, they don't have to stay. And this is Saturn retrograding in Aries 7th house. It's just the energy now. And I feel the shift. And as these extraterrestrial guides start coming and channeling through me, I'm going to be really focusing on how can we use astrology to look at things differently as our consciousness expands. How can I start to channel? And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know why I'm saying this on this episode, besides the fact that I think I just really want to document all of this, right? Because Marston said from April to July of next year, I'm going to look back and say, how am I sitting right here, right now? And I want these episodes just recorded for me. Okay, so now I just want to go into some tips and tricks that I think will be helpful as you approach the cliff of jumping it off and just leaping in faith, or if you're already there and want to like fine tune anything. So just to emphasize alignment work, for me specifically, it was understanding my birth chart and understanding my human design. How do I make decisions? It's from my gut. So not the mind. The mind is going to tell you things like you should work more. There's going to be a money issue. It's going to tell you any narrative that it has been programmed. And the programming is strong living in this society that has been programmed. You've been programmed since before you're even incarnated, because your parents were indoctrinated, their parents were indoctrinated, so you became indoctrinated, the school system's indoctrinated, right? There is so much deprogramming we have to do from the mind that we can't listen to it all the time. We have to listen to our bodies. We have to listen to our gut. If that's how you make decisions, right? You have to figure that out for yourself with your own human design and astrology. So I would say living in alignment is starting to learn how to truly trust, even when you don't know the outcome or what's going to happen. You understand that full body knowing, that is where you need to be going. So you're just going to keep going in that direction. Living in alignment has a little bit of a levity to it. Again, that doesn't mean you don't dip. I dip in fear all the time, but I can come back to, I'm living my purpose, I'm living my purpose, I'm living my purpose. Everyone's purpose is different down here, but there is this knowing. And so if you don't have this like knowing I'm in my purpose, instead you feel like you're just in almost autopilot, it does potentially mean that's a signal to you, I need to shift something. I need to look at myself differently. And how did I do this? Because I was in therapy, right? Even though I knew that was part of my journey, when it was over, I felt it. I felt it for over a year. I was being drained. I knew this was not my purpose anymore. I don't want to say I outgrew it. It was just that time was done and I needed to move on and evolve. And I knew it by being tired. I knew it by dreading it. I knew it by being like it was an energetic resistance. And the only reason I was doing it was for money at that moment in time. Because I had to, right? You have to live. So there, when you're disaligned, you're energetically drained. And I think your nervous system and your nervous system plays into this, because your nervous system is protecting you. Your nervous system is going to tell you when you feel safe, you can relax. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to be able to relax. Your nervous system's turned on. It's activated and it's telling your brain you're not safe. And then it's going to replay all these narratives of why. So part of doing the work is nervous system regulation. And you hear this a lot online. You won't be able to call in the money you're calling in if you don't feel safe enough to hold that money. And why people might not feel safe enough to hold that money is because they could have narratives going on. They could have family programming. They could not feel worthy enough for that amount of money. They could feel not smart enough for that. Whatever it is, there's a disalignment with that amount coming in. And so for me, I know, okay, I need to clear out those blocks, but I also need to clear out the box of being seen. And this is all going with the astrology right now. Saturn retrograding, Mercury retrograding in Leo. It's about to be Leo season. Like, we are all really clearing out this same shit for different reasons and different paths and different timelines. But it is a collective remembrance right now of clearing. And so that is why nervous system regulation is so important, because if you put yourself out there on a video, you took that aligned action, which is great, but then you flare up and you're scared, which is normal. But are you doing anything to rewire your brain to show yourself that you're safe? Or are you going and engaging in a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism that's not helpful? Are you posting? Are you anxious? Then you're scrolling. Are you drinking? Are you smoking? Whatever it's you're doing to escape the feelings of uncomfortability. Are you calling a friend and just talking about it instead of really processing it out of your body? Right? That's what I want you to think about with nervous system regulation. Because for me, I would intellectualize it. Oh, I'm triggered right now. I could see it, but I wasn't feeling it and I wasn't processing it. So alignment, nervous system regulation, understanding your chart, understanding who you truly are, not the person you've been told to be. And this is so key. This is why July has been so hard for me. I've been told how to run my business. I've been told what working hard looks like. I've been told if you work hard, money comes. No, that's a lie. You're actually pushing it away. You burn out that way. Then your nervous system's fried. It's all loops and it's all indoctrination. So when you're about to jump, you need to let yourself know that you're safe. Even if you don't feel fully confident before you jump, that's fine. I did know this was my purpose. I did feel confident in that. Like, I told my husband, full body knowing, and he even knew. But even if you don't have that path clear, right? Because right now I'm walking in the fucking woods just every day right now. But again, there's this deep knowing because it's in alignment. So when you're at that edge, root into that feeling of purpose and alignment, and that's what's going to get you through while you're actively reprogramming. And there are times that I backslide all the time where I'm white knuckling, I'm trying to control, and then I have to step back and go, whoa. I'm controlling. Where's my faith, right? The true test of faith, the true walking of faith right now. And I saw this TikTok video, and that's what she said. She said, Jesus didn't have a job. Jesus was taken care of because Jesus was truly walking the path of service. So God protected him. Think about you being in service. God will protect you. And that's what I keep coming back to right now. And I think that's for everyone, because more and more people are going to be taking that leap. More and more people are going to be triggered at the yin yang like I have been. But when you have the right tools, when you have someone to mirror back to you, like I have a business coach. She does an amazing job of seeing me very clearly and just being able to reflect back to me. So I have these check-ins to really process a lot of this. And when you have community guiding as well, like Marston, and I have some other healers that kind of help me build my trust with spirit, you really will get there and it will be okay. And nothing, even if it seems so scary and that you won't survive, you will. And then when you take that aligned action out of courage, you're so proud of yourself and you just look at yourself and like, fuck yeah, I can do that again. Fuck yeah, I can do that again. And you get more and more courageous. And the more courageous you get, the more choices you're making in the alignment of that version that you want to become. And then your probability of becoming that person goes up and up and up. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're that person. You're walking that path. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, where do I start? Truly looking at yourself in the mirror is just so important. And that's what your astrology birth chart is. It's just a mirror into your soul. It's a mirror into your genetic code. It's a mirror into where your soul has been and where it wants to go. And so if you can look at that, that's a doorway. So I'm going to plug my course, like my Shadow and Soul course. If you can see those blocks, write them down, then notice where they come in your life. you will start walking the path, because even though they're going to be maybe potentially in the shadow, they're also your biggest strengths, because everything in astrology, there's a shadow side and an empowered side. So I created this course so people could see where they might be manifesting that energy in the shadow, but then they can also understand what the empowered side of it is, because it is your superpower. So start with the course in that sense, or get a reading from someone, or go to therapy. The thing with therapy though is like your defense mechanisms, unless you're with a therapist who is super intuitive and is able to kind of call you on shit and be that mirror instead of just validate, your defense mechanisms are so strong that it could take very long to get to these spots. And that's why I actually stopped doing traditional therapy and really went to astrology, because it just cut through the bullshit so quickly and I could mirror things back to people and then we could get going. So that's one thing. And then the second thing would be really spending time understanding what your intuition feels like, or what your authority and strategy is in human design, and start practicing it. Again, I am trying to make decisions off my sacral at all times during the day now, but I still let the mind override. And so, but I now understand what that feels like when I do that. And it's just a muscle. So start working with that muscle. I have a pendulum that I've not broke out in years. This is actually one of my first tool of development, was my pendulum. And this is what I ask now too. When I feel like I know something, but my mind's telling me something else, I just break out my pendulum. So those are some tools where I would start, because in the beginning, it's really learning about yourself. Then it's the transition phase. Then it's the shedding phase. And then it's walking the path phase of alignment. So thank you so much if you are here listening to me. I'm excited in a year from now to look back on this episode, look back on my journals around this time. Such a pivotal fucking moment of learning about myself, putting myself out there, not hiding. That's what I feel like. I just feel like I'm not hiding anymore. And I can say the things and I'm not going to get hurt because of it. Because there's integrity and there's compassion, and anything I say is truly just authentic. And it doesn't have to resonate with other people. That's the thing. Free yourself. You don't have to get along with people if you're in your authentic version of you and the intention behind it was pure. You don't have to follow the rules if you know there's something better for you. Allow yourself to choose your path, because ultimately we co-create with the universe. The universe is not testing you. There is not something out there putting roadblocks in your way to be like, did Lauren pass today? No, you're testing yourself. And it's not even a test. You're just experiencing a wound within you that is being mirrored back to you when you feel activated, when you feel triggered. You have an option. You move through that wound, through that fear, you actualize it, and it's now your superpower. Or you become re-triggered and you just loop. And then that same thing's going to come back around, because everything's cyclical, right? So if you're like, fuck, I should have said this. Fuck, I should have done that. It will come back around. Trust. It will. And you can move through it then. That was really big on my spiritual journey as well. When I stopped outsourcing that something out there is testing me, because by believing that God, universe is testing you, then you believe that there's something external than yourself, which would then not agree with everything is always working out in our favor, because it is. The universe is always co-creating with us. So since we co-create with the universe, technically, we are creating these circumstances so we can learn, so we can move through it, so they can be mirrors and deepen our consciousness level, expand our consciousness level to new levels, which is really the purpose of being human and the soul. Wow, I just went on a really big tangent. So anyways, check my course out. My level 1 mentorship astrology will be relaunching in the winter. So there is a waitlist open for that if you want to learn astrology in a soul aligned way, how to use it to awaken. And yeah, I'm just really excited, I guess, to not know where I'm going, but to just keep making aligned action. And y'all will obviously see it here as everything unfolds. So Thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, send it to a friend, trust yourself. If you're coming to the cliff, let me know. If you're at the cliff, let me know. If you've jumped, let me know. What are you doing? Let's talk about these experiences. I love it. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to Karma is Calling. I hope today's conversation awoken something within you. And if you found this episode nourishing, please take a moment to follow, rate, and share it with someone else who might need this medicine. You can work with me at thelunarchild.com. Follow me on TikTok for all astrological updates at The Lunar Child, and follow me on YouTube for the long conversations where we do deep dives at Karma is Calling. But until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep answering the call.